It's election night. The polls have just closed, and you're watching the first television station to cover Louisiana politics. Channel 6 News presents Decision 98. And now, here's Norman Robinson and Susan Roseton.
Good evening. I'm Norman Robinson.
And I'm Susan Roseton. The polls are now closed, and we'll start bringing you the results as they come in a number of key races. Among them, the race for the city's top post, and it's a safe bet to report that Mayor Mark Morial is the odds-on favorite to be re-elected as mayor of New Orleans. So let's join Michael Marsh and Melanie Sanders. They're at the mayor's victory party at Le Méridien Hotel.
Well, it's slow but sure here at the Le Méridien and the Morial headquarters. Not too many people in here right now. People are slowly, very slowly filtering in. It's expected that more people will start to show up after the polls have closed. Now they've closed, people are expected to show up. Declared the winner over Kathleen Cresson and Paul Bordelot. As a matter of fact, Bordelot is marching in a Mardi Gras parade tonight, so I guess he even knows it's going to be a shoe-in for Morial, even though that the turnout was quite low today.
Very, very low. We were talking to Bob Dabney, who is the mayor's campaign press secretary. He was saying about 1 or 2 o'clock this afternoon, the turnout in the black community was about 16% and the white community about 23%. Of course, the clerk's office was hoping for about 50%, so they have a long way to go. Of course, the numbers are just now coming in.
Right.
We don't exactly know if we've reached that 50% pinnacle, but of course, it still looks like the mayor will do very well tonight.
And while hopefully everyone's watching Channel 6 for those numbers to come in, they're also watching over here on the internet. There's a huge screen set up for people to watch the numbers, so as people come in, of course, they'll be easily knowing that Morial will win. He isn't expected to actually show up until around 10 o'clock to give his victory speech, and we'll keep you up to date here at the Le Méridien. Back to you.
All right, we'll check in with you then. So the real question may be tonight just how large the mayor's victory is going to be.
Some are predicting this election will be unprecedented in the terms of the margin of victory that the mayor will receive tonight.
Actually, the record was set in 1961 when Victor Skiro got 81% of the vote, and beating that record may be a bit tough. According to our Channel 6 Cox Communications poll taken just last week, 69% of the voters we asked want Mayor Morial for a second term. Just 5% then were leaning toward Kathleen Cresson. Paul Bordelot, just 1%.
And despite Morial's popularity, most voters don't want to change the city's charter to allow Morial to serve a consecutive third term, at least not yet. Something his father, Dutch Morial, tried unsuccessfully. 54% in our poll opposed changing the charter, 36% supported.
So taking a closer look now at the mayor's race, with us are our Channel 6 political analysts, Silas Lee and Susan Howell. Silas, do you think votes for Kathleen Cresson in this, a long-shot candidate, or Paul Bordelot, are really votes that are a protest message against the mayor?
Oh, without a doubt. In any election, you will always have a built-in 15 to 25% of the voters opposing the incumbent or a particular issue. So, without a doubt, the votes that Kathleen Cresson will get and Paul Bauer will get, definitely a protest vote.
Dr. Howell, what is the significant factor of a protest vote in this particular election where you have a strong, popular incumbent?
Right. A protest vote is a strong disapproval of the incumbent. That means you're voting against the incumbent for a candidate that you don't really know and haven't heard that much about. And I think we've seen in polls of white voters that there is maybe 25% of white voters that strongly disapprove of the mayor. So the question is, will they go into the ballot box and cast a vote for another candidate, or will they just bypass that election altogether?
And your gut feeling?
I think there is a 15% protest vote out there, but that still would give the mayor 80 to 85%. I think he might get in the upper 70s, around 80, which would be a very strong endorsement.
And in terms of a third term run for the mayor, I guess the gap is still in favor of the opposition, but nonetheless the gap is closing. So would you say that the chances for a third term as far as Morial, the son, is more favorable than they were for his father, Dutch?
Yeah. Oh, without a doubt. Different political environment. Dutch Morial was facing tough economic times and entering a period of uncertainty. However, Mark Morial has a lot of things going in his favor. Voters feel something is being done about crime. They're confident with the quality of leadership in the police department, city hall, the mayor's office, the city council. The economy seems to be picking up. He has a lot of things going in his favor. So the chances of a third term passing for Mark Morial, much better than the chances were for his father. However, keep in mind those individuals who have been waiting to run for mayor. We don't know how that will affect them, what position they will take. So there are a lot of unanswered questions about a third term, but the chances are better this time around.
And another factor that makes it more positive for Mark is the fact that the electorate is about 12 to 13% more black than it was when Dutch ran, and I think that definitely helps him to possibly pass the third-term amendment.
We'll see.
Yeah, we will see. Thank you very much. We'll be talking with you a little later in the broadcast. And the mayor's race aside, Susan, perhaps the most exciting race we'll be watching tonight is the horse race that's evolved for the council at large seats.
This is a close one. In our Channel 6 Cox Communications poll again, Jim Singleton is in the lead with 29%. Peggy Wilson is right behind with 23% of the voters we asked, while newcomer Eddie Saper, who was a former councilman himself years ago, has just 16%. But there is a large undecided vote in this race, 29% according to our poll.
And so, as you've seen with the numbers, this is definitely the race to watch throughout the evening. We have election crews out at the parties for all three of the top candidates in that race. Heath Allen is live at Jim Singleton's party, Scott Simmons live from the headquarters of Peggy Wilson, and Ken Jones at the Eddie Saper party at the Fairmont Hotel. Let's begin now with Heath Allen.
Well, Norman, the polls have closed now, and people are beginning to breathe that sigh of relief. They're getting ready to come down to the various halls and watch the election returns come in. Jim Singleton is here with me now. You feel pretty good about the way the race has gone, barring some unforeseen upset. You should be heading into your next term as councilman at large.
I feel good that I will be. I'm already beginning to just think about how I'm going to get there, what I'm going to do when I get there, and the kind of things we want to do for the next 4 years.
What is it that you want to do for the next 4 years? We've pretty well attacked the crime problem now. Is it just a continuation?
Okay, I just want to see this city get to be a better city, and I think that means continue to reduce crime problems, looking at our education system, looking at whether it's drainage, the airport, all those things that we have out here, the whole business-friendly concept that we would like to make this city. And it's all part of the concept with the mayor to rebuild New Orleans.
Term limits at the end of this, you can't run for councilman at large anymore. Your own district or maybe another office?
We cross that bridge when we get to it. That, you know, I have options that are open to me at this point. That is to do nothing, relax, to look at something else. But I would not go back to the district.
You feel comfortable about tonight?
I feel very comfortable.
All right, Jim Singleton, councilman at large, looks to be the winner in this race, looking for another 4 years on the council. With Peggy Wilson now, Scott Simmons is standing by. Scotty?
That's right, Heath. Things are starting to pick up here, joining in the candidate. How do you feel now in the election? The polls closed just a few short moments ago.
Well, it's the best time of the day when the polls close and finally all the anticipation can come to fruition. We're very excited. We worked hard. Our people worked hard, and we feel like they got our message. They understood about voting only for one, and we're sure that that's what they did.
You had some last-minute campaign trauma you might consider with a flurry of flyers, suggestion a vote with Saper with you, it would be okay in your opinion. Certainly that's not the case. You had to do some campaign damage in that regard.
Well, we knew that he was going to send out that flyer. We had a report ahead of time that it was going to be done, so we did print our warning to people. Don't be fooled by the kind of tricks that the Saper campaign is involved in. But anyway, we think the people understand what I represent and what I mean, and they're not going to be fooled by cheap political tricks.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot, Peggy Wilson. Candidate will be watching the numbers as they come in. It is certainly no coincidence, you should know, her campaign headquarters are located directly across the street from Mayor Mark Morial's house. We'll tell you more about that as the night progresses. Back to you, Ken Jones.
All right, Scott, over here at the Eddie Saper headquarters, no one here but us chickens, reporters, and bartenders at this point. For the most part, Eddie Saper still, I guess, resting from a day of campaigning throughout the entire area. No place in particular he went. He was in the bar rooms, in the beauty parlors, in the barbershops, kissing babies, really leaving nothing to chance in this election to get back on the council after leaving it 31 years ago. Of course, he joined up with Mayor Mark Morial a little later in the day. He went around with the mayor, not so much supporting the mayor, but really getting support from the mayor for his own bid to upset Peggy Wilson and take her out of the council. Of course, no secret here, Mayor Morial has wanted Wilson out of the council for some time. But as I understand it, we don't know where we stand at this point in that race. As far as Eddie Saper making it to his headquarters, I'm told by his campaign people, he will arrive probably sometime when he's sure the race is going one way or another. So at that point, we'll be able to give his comments to you and let you know what he thinks about the race at this point. Let's send it back to you, Norman and Susan.
All right, Ken, thank you.
Yeah, take care of those chickens. race. Let's talk again with Silas Lee and Susan Howell about this race and what's going to be the deciding factor here, I suppose, is the question that we should begin with in considering the council at large race.
Well, in some ways, this was a referendum on Peggy Wilson. It was really between Peggy Wilson and Eddie Saper. I think Eddie Saper's campaign was just too little, too late. The voters don't know who he is. He never really had a realistic chance starting that late. The life endorsement or the mayor's endorsement can mean a lot or can mean less than a lot, depending on how active the organization is. And it doesn't seem, given the turnout levels, that the organization was very active, and Eddie Saper is totally dependent on that.
Silas, how effective do you think is the push from one candidate to the voters to vote for just one candidate? Do voters buy that?
Well, historically, voters have voted for 2 candidates. However, we probably will see an increase in the number of voters single shooting this time. What percentage, we don't know. Some polls had about 10% to 20%, and it could increase. So that's going to be a significant factor that will determine who wins in this particular race. And the council at large members, as well as all of the council members, they are benefiting from the perception that things are pretty good in the city of New Orleans. And whenever you have that attitude among voters, it's difficult for a challenger to develop and convince voters that they should throw out some of the current council members.
Now, one of the most heated controversies, as everybody knows, is surrounded Peggy Wilson. I mean, everybody's been keying on Peggy Wilson. I got a call today from somebody out in the trenches who said that you should hear Peggy Wilson's phone bank messages telling people that the mayor has spent $1 million on her race and she's asking white voters to vote once. Did the mayor spend $1 million to get Peggy Wilson out of the race?
Well, if he had spent $1 million, we would have seen it. We didn't see it. I think we would have seen City Hall workers out 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago on the weekends. We didn't see it. We're seeing 47% black turnout at this point, so I don't think we're seeing $1 million. Actually, I think the mayor's endorsement of Eddie Saper was sort of a half-hearted attempt to give Peggy Wilson some trouble and make her spend a little money.
Norman, the mayor did not spend $1 million on his race, I don't think, so needless to say.
Well, what about Eddie Saper's 11th hour ad featuring his wife and his son complaining about Peggy Wilson's alleged attacks on them? How effective is that kind of ad this late in the game?
Not that effective, because essentially it was too little too late. And in an ad like that, you need time for voters to see that ad, to digest it, and really cause some controversy and discussion in the electorate so that they can say, well, maybe we should not vote for the other candidates because this is what they have said. So you need time for that to really sink in with voters and for them to digest it.
And he didn't get it?
2 days, not enough.
Okay.
All right, well, thank you both, and we'll be talking to you again a little later. But right now, stay tuned for the very latest election results. Our
Decision 98 continues from this city's first station to cover politics in New Orleans, the first station in the city, WDSU-TV.
Very nice.
It's a sweetheart of a deal at A1 Appliance for the whole month of February. Shop at A1 Appliance for the best deals and biggest selection. Give her an appliance from A1 and we'll give you a wonderful bouquet of flowers from Villery's Florist. At A1 Appliance, get the guaranteed lowest prices and 0% interest for 15 months. We're talking a sweetheart of a deal. Buy a new appliance and get a beautiful free bouquet for your sweetheart from Villery's. We won't tell. At A1 Appliance, we're talking big.
Let Misa Services remodel your kitchen or customize your bathroom, adding beauty and value to your home. Call Misa Services today. Call Billiard Pest Control for environmentally friendly pest control and say goodbye to ants, roaches, and fleas. Call Billiard Pest Control today.
Don't replace that car, replace your engine. Give your car years of new life with a remanufactured engine from Pro Engine Sales. Financing available.
Quick Trim Weight Loss Clinics specialize in one thing, helping you lose weight. Don't go it alone. Call Quick Trim Weight Loss Clinics for help.
Tulane University Hospital and Clinic, in partnership with Tulane Medical Center, has had a commitment to providing quality health care to Louisiana and the Gulf South for more than 150 years. This tradition of health and healing, in conjunction with educating the next generation of doctors, has made Tulane known and respected throughout the world. When you choose Tulane, you choose expertise and medical innovation in every field of healthcare. It's the most educated healthcare decision you can make. For information, call our access line.
Has the zip in your car finally run out of gas? Tired of fixing and fighting it? Volunteers of America will take it off your hands and offer you free towing. We'll even take that old truck, boat, or motorcycle, whether it's running or not, and you can get a tax deduction for your donation. Call Volunteers of America at 1-800-427-6327 and help yourself while helping over 16,000 children, families, and adults in Greater New Orleans. Call Volunteers of America at 1-800-427-6327 to donate your vehicle and get a possible tax deduction.
And welcome back. You're watching a special election coverage from the city's and the state's first television station, WDSU. In addition to the hotly contested council-at-large race, there are also 3 seats for individual council districts up for grab. And it's unlikely any of the incumbents will be unseated tonight. In the case of Roy Glapion, voters who responded to our recent Channel 6 Cox Communications poll, well, they gave the councilman high marks for job performance. That, despite recent negative publicity following his arrest on drunk driving charges. According to our poll, 15% say he's doing an excellent job in office, 40% say he's doing pretty good, and 22% say only fair, and only 8% say he's doing a poor job. His supporters are hoping this support will parlay into an easy victory tonight. Susan Roberts is live at Glampion's headquarters at the Walnut Room at Lakefront Airport. Susan.
Norman, lots of friends and supporters here tonight. I think just about everyone associated with Roy Glapion is here, but Roy Glapion himself. As you said, and as our polls have shown, and the pollsters have said earlier in the week, Roy Glapion is expected to win this race tonight pretty easily. His opponent, Anna P. Johnson, is no stranger, though, to New Orleans, having worked in the public schools for 20 years and having worked in both Dutch Morial and Sidney Bartholomew's campaign. So she was not a no-namer by any means, but she really has failed to show up for this election, for this campaign. We haven't seen much from her. We haven't heard from her. Calls to her, in fact, have gone unanswered, and the drunk driving charge that Roy Glapion faces might have been a factor had she pushed it or other people pushed it, but no word on that at all. So with the district being 80% Democrat, seeing that she's a Republican, a lot of people expect her to win him to win this one tonight. Norman, back to you.
All right, Susan, take care. We'll check with you a little later. Susan?
Well, another councilman who appears headed for re-election is Oliver Thomas, whose district includes, among other areas, Central City. His job performance numbers in our recent Channel 6 poll are also very favorable. 15% of the voters we asked believe Oliver Thomas is doing an excellent job in office. 45% say he's doing a pretty good job. 24% rate him fair. Thomas got very little negative response from our voters. Only 2% say they think he's doing a poor job. Tonight, Thomas supporters are beginning to gather at the Holiday Inn Crown Plaza, where Thomas is sharing his election night party with Councilman Jim Singleton. Melanie Schubrooks is there for us. Melanie.
Good evening, Susie. We are coming live to you from Oliver Thomas's headquarters here at the Holiday Inn Crown Plaza, where this is turning into a victory party for him. His opponent, Diane Prunty Williams, didn't really put on much of a campaign. She didn't publicly campaign, and she really didn't do any of the debates or even square off with Thomas on any of the issues facing the city of New Orleans. Thomas joins me right now. How was that for you, not really having much of an opponent, someone who's out there, but yet didn't really give you a run for the money like in some of the other races?
Well, I would never really categorize anybody as not much of an opponent. She was on the radio, she had signs, and she canvassed. I think it was just that fact that I'm in touch with my district, I work hard, I love my job, and I'm very visible in the community. And hopefully the victory that I get tonight will be a testimony to what I've tried to do in the last 4 years.
And speaking of the next 4 years, what's going on? What will you look for in the next 4 years on the City Council? Some major issues that you'll focus on.
Well, I'm going to focus on literacy, abandoned houses, and of course crime. One of the things I'd like to see is more police substations in other neighborhoods around the community. I mean, it's nice that the French Quarter and the CBD are real safe with a lot of police visibility, but it'd be great to have more police in Algiers, more police in Central City, more police.
And is that what your people are saying to you out in the community? Do they want to see more police, obviously?
That's absolutely correct. They appreciate the job that Chief Pennington has done, but they really would like to see more visibility in some of those areas that are kind of forgotten, because you still have a lot of drug dealing, you still have a lot of crime in a lot of neighborhoods where people don't really come out of their homes.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Mr. Thomas. As you can see, some things going on in the future that he's planning for. A lot of crime for the city of New Orleans, trying to fight that. And it looks like a victory party. It looks like a shoe-in for Thomas this evening. Diane Prunty Williams not being very visible in the community, but of course, Thomas is here and trying to celebrate this evening. Back to you.
Well, it's not over till it's over. So
not over till it's over, but it looks like it's going to be a shoe-in for him this evening.
All right, Melanie. We do have some new numbers now coming in.
Yes, the polls have been closed for about 20 minutes now. Let's take a look at the Council at Large race. And there we are. Challenger Eddie Saper, 11%, and Chuck West, 3%.
With just 1% of the precincts reporting at this time. Stephen Berry dropped out of the race, but his name was still on the ballot. Couldn't get it off in time, so you see he has 1% of the vote.
And Papa Gant, with 1%. David Marcello in the 4th Circuit Court of Appeal race with 45% of the vote. James McKay, former criminal district judge, 20-something%.
Now that's going to be a very tight race. Philip Ciascio Jr., the son of the former judge, has 26%. And the clerk of court race, Dale Atkins, the incumbent, leading handily, 83% to 17%, with 1% of the precincts reporting. In the recorder of mortgages race, a really hot and sort of nasty race toward the end, the incumbent, Michael McCrossan, 78%, to the challenger, Desiree Charbonnet. And recorder of mortgages, last candidate, Shedrick Roy. He's off the ballot now. No votes. He's off the chart. He was on the ballot, but he had withdrawn before his name could be removed. Traffic court judge, taking a look at this. Bobby Jones, one of the strong contenders apparently in this race with 30%. Donald Pryor, 21%. And in the race for traffic court judge as well, Yvonne Hughes, perennial candidate, 16%. Several candidates, as you see in this race. Morris Reed, 7%. Arthur Morrell, just 7%. And bringing up Maria Vernon Thomas with 6% of the vote in the race for traffic court judge. So those are the new numbers, the first numbers that we've had come in tonight. And coming up, we'll check in with more numbers and more election night parties. And we'll have some updated numbers. Stay tuned to your best source for your election night coverage. Don't go far.
The response to Kirschman's big event was so huge, we're holding it over through Sunday. Save on every item in the store and buy with no interest for 6 months through tomorrow at Kirschman's.
Don't replace that car, replace your engine. Give your car years of new life with a remanufactured engine from Pro Engine Sales. Financing available.
Let Armor Roofing and Gutter install a new roof with a lifetime warranty right over your existing roof. This innovative roofing material is made of steel with a crushed and graded stone coating. Fire retardant, strong and affordable. The last roof you'll ever need. Armor Roofing and Gutter.
Mesha Camping is affordable and fun with a motorhome from Cajun Camping. Trade-ins and financing available. See Cajun Camping.
I work downtown. And I can't tell you what a hassle it used to be to get my Toyota to a dealer for service. Until I discovered Lakeside Toyota. Their service department is open till midnight during the week and all day Saturday. They have a shuttle van that takes me home, to work, or even Lakeside Mall. And when they say my Toyota is going to be ready at a certain time, they mean it. The folks at Lakeside Toyota understand how important my time is to me, and I like that. Thanks, Lakeside Toyota, for working around my schedule.
Hi, I'm Margaret Orr. As a mother, I know how tough it is to talk to kids. But imagine if your child is autistic. How would you reach them? You can call Gulf Coast Teaching Family Services. Since 1983, it's been helping children break out of the isolated world of autism. Donate your used car, boat, or RV to Gulf Coast Teaching Family Services. You get a tax deduction, but more importantly, you help a child with autism. Remember, for a child with autism, it's not just a car, it's their freedom.
It was a highway like no other.
Nobody really wanted it. People thought it was a waste of money.
With a rich and turbulent history.
I beg your forgiveness.
And today, with a brand new name and increased traffic, this thoroughfare is trying to change its image. The New Drive, Monday at 6 on Channel 6 News.
And at 8:24, we now have some new numbers just in the mayor's race.
We're going to take a look at those numbers and whatever else we have coming into us. Taking a look now at the mayor's race, the mayor is expected to easily win re-election for his second term. He didn't have much of a challenge from his two challengers, the third that dropped out. There you see Mayor Morial with 60% of the vote, Kathleen Cresson with 29% of the vote, with just 2% of the precincts reporting.
And of course, there's only one other candidate in that race. There he is, Paul Borrello. Bauer dropped out some time ago. Borrello's out marching in a parade tonight.
That's right, the
Crew de Vue
parade.
Yeah. And in the council at large, it's Peggy Wilson with 37%, James Singleton 34%.
So let's see how Eddie Saper is doing now this early. 25%, and Stephen Berry, again, that's a non-candidate.
Yeah, and also William Gant Jr., 1%, and respectively with Chuck West.
In Council District E, Ellen Hazur distanced the incumbent, has 87% against the challenger, Wayne Johnson, with 13%.
And the crime proposition, a big issue out in Lakeview, where people are voting to assess their property to pay for more security patrols. Yes is leading 53% to no at 47%, with 5% of the precincts reporting.
That would be a $100 per year property tax for 4 years, something that a lot of neighborhoods are considering now.
And in the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeal race, David Marcello, the mayor's candidate, is tied with James McKay, former criminal district judge, at 40% each, with 1% reporting.
And Philip Ciascio Jr. Let's see how he's doing. Well, we'll get to that later. We're going to now talk to our political analysts, Silas Lee and Dr. Susan Howell. We were talking earlier, and some of the reporters had mentioned that it didn't seem that the challengers, especially in the council at large race or in the mayor's race, had made much of a challenge. Why even say you're going to run for mayor or run for council and then not show up and really get out and try to do as much as you can?
Well, historically, you will have someone challenge incumbents. However, what we noticed here, we had absentee opposition. And for many of these candidates, it was an opportunity for them to get a message out, probably that they could have never received any attention or focus on before. And maybe it was just an opportunity for them to challenge someone. You never know. But it was probably an opportunity for them to get a message out that probably was ignored in the past.
Well, there's not much point in challenging these popular incumbents during good times when you're going to have a chance to run in 4 more years. So why waste money up against someone who's probably going to beat you? Save your money for 4 years from now.
And my question was, what new messages did we hear from the? We really didn't hear anything new. We didn't hear anything to get excited about. There was nothing stimulating.
And I think part of the reason for that is that people are generally content with this council. I thought it was interesting in your poll that all these council people have the same ratings, which means nobody stands out as being particularly bad or particularly great in a sense, so that they're all okay. And so what do you say against that?
Now, if I might ask another question. Now, the mayor said to me yesterday that, sure, it's been a dull election, but the city of New Orleans has earned the right to be dull. Why is dull good?
Dull is definitely good in this election because the voters have more confidence in local government than we've seen in 10, 12 years. They see improvements in crime, the police. They think the city's going in the right direction, and they like the incumbents. That makes for a dull election, but it's basically a good thing.
But Silas, you mentioned to me just a moment ago that it's good for incumbents to have challengers, even a weak challenge?
Well, incumbents need a challenger, basically to focus voters on their record and on their agenda. Without opposition, there's not a whole lot you can do to stimulate the interest of voters. So with a challenger, at least it allows you that opportunity. In reference to what Norman was saying, right now when you look at 1998 and 1994, definitely we've seen a renaissance in terms of how people feel about the quality of life, leadership in the city, and the direction of the city. Complete reversal. Now 75% of the voters feel that they have some or a lot of confidence in the council compared to 4 years ago. It was less than 10%. So we have a complete reversal. The same with the mayor's office, the same with the New Orleans Police Department. And that's why you see a pretty dull election.
But there has been some undercurrent of some resistance, so we'll be talking about that a little bit later.
Yeah, we are watching special election coverage, Decision 98, here on the state's first television station, WDSU. We'll be right back.
Are you getting married? Come to the Special Occasion Center's open house on February 7th and register for thousands of dollars in cash and prizes. The Special Occasion Center has it all. Call for details today. Tires for less only at Lucas Tire Super Ride Sale. 4 Super Ride 40,000 mile steel radial white walls, $99.95. That's right, 4 Super Ride tires, any size, just $99.95. Instant credit, 90 days, same as cash, only at Lucas Tire.
Late Saturday, I was at Firestone for MasterCare Car Service. Had them check the engine, suspension, brakes.
Noise going on up front.
So they discovered I needed a special order part that could have taken days to get here. Instead, they stayed open past closing while the tech got the same part from his car at home. Now, I can't expect this every time there, but they really went out of their way to be sure I had my car ready for the weekend.
MasterCare at Firestone. People who care about cars. For a limited time, get MasterCare Basic Brake Service on all 4 wheels, starting at $99.
It's king cake time, and Rouse's is king. We make king cakes fresh every day with delicious gourmet cinnamon dough and your favorite sweet and tasty flavors. Visit any Rouse's or use your credit card and call our king cake hotline. Share with family and friends. We ship anywhere in the USA with Mardi Gras throws, doubloons, the works. When it comes to king cakes, Rouse's is king.
We're Rouse's, your superstore.
If you like catching doubloons and Mardi Gras beads, then you'll love this catch. A huge shrimp platter served with a large drink for only $5.88. Piles of shrimp cooked the New Orleans way, hot and crispy. Home-style fries, hush puppies, and a large drink. It'll make your taste buds mambo. Catch our lanyard special, only $5.88 for the best shrimp platter in town. When we called it New Orleans Hamburger and Seafood Company, we had to make it good.
And welcome back to our election coverage here on Channel 6. Councilwoman Ellen Hazur-Distance is another incumbent whose job at City Hall appears secure tonight. We have some numbers now in that race.
And if we can look at those numbers, as you see them right there in District D, she has 87% of the vote, but Wayne Johnson's, her challenge is 13%. And voters seem convinced that Hazur, whose district includes New Orleans East, is serving her constituents well. And Richard Angelico is our man on the scene now at Hazur-Distance's headquarters. Richard, how are you?
Well, Norman, we're doing fine here. There's certainly an air of festivity here. There are balloons, and the crowd is starting to arrive, and everybody is feeling very, very confident about this race. The challenge of Wayne Johnson did not mount much of a challenge, went to 1 or 2 debates, but you really don't see much of his literature around, and he really didn't make much of a push to unseat what has been a very, very popular councilwoman. And the councilwoman is with me right now. You've had a very busy day, I understand.
Yes, definitely. Got up early this morning, went to vote, then started walking different neighborhoods, knocking on doors, riding, the whole 9 yards.
Let me ask you, what's ahead for New Orleans East? A few years ago, we'd drive by, we'd see Oakwood, we'd see Green Tree. It looked like New Orleans East literally was going to the dogs. There's been a big turnaround, including this new Holiday Inn.
Oh, definitely. As you can see from the interstate, New Orleans East is undergoing a revitalization. We have several big projects on the drawing board, Jazzland amongst them, the sale of the plaza, which had happened this month. And in other areas of the district as well, we're also pushing to really help the small businesses throughout the district. So I think all of those efforts combined should produce a real transformation of the whole district.
There's a lot that's been done in the past 4 years. What's ahead in the next 4 years for you in terms of things that need to be done here in New Orleans East?
Well, I think we have to continue to build upon the foundation that's been laid. We have to continue our crime-fighting efforts. I would like to see more community policing substations throughout the district because it is so large. I think we also have to continue to work on the blighted problem. I think the Section 8 problem has to be addressed by our federal delegation because it has a big impact on the whole city. I think also we have to continue to pursue our streets program for the city, and I'm looking forward to seeing all of those completed.
Okay, well, thank you very much. That's Councilwoman Ellen Hazur-Distance. She, of course, is not predicting victory yet, but if you ask any of these folks out here, they say it was a slam dunk yesterday. Norman and Susan, back to you.
A slam dunk a few weeks ago, Richie.
Probably.
All right, thank you.
All right. You know, all of the candidates for council who wind up victorious tonight will face one common problem when they return to office at City Hall to begin their new term, and that is crime. We'll have some numbers now from the Lakeview crime proposition issue. You can see it's winning 51 to 49%.
This is a close one, though. At one point, one of the polls suggested that only 50% of the people in that area supported this, and they only need 50% to pass this. Alec Gifford is live at a Lakeview landmark tonight, St. Dominic's Church. And Alec, this is going to be an interesting one here.
It certainly is. I think it's a bit closer than anybody suspected it might have been at this point. Let me set the scene right now. Yes, we're standing outside St. Dominic's Church on Harrison Avenue, about a block off Canal Boulevard, where St. Paul's Episcopal Church is. That's really what Lakeview is all about. Big churches like this, little shops like the Coffee and Company Cafe and other places here along the Harrison Avenue shopping strip. Crime is not really that big an issue out here. There hasn't been a murder here in 2 years. In fact, over the last reporting period, crime took a 10% drop in the Lakeview area. We're standing here with Charles Ciascio, who is one of the driving forces behind the move to create this Lakeview Crime Prevention District. And the question people keep asking is, why Lakeview? It's one of the safest areas of town.
Well, the fact is we want to make Lakeview the safest it can be. Despite the fact that the perception is that it is a safe place, there are still individuals who have been victims of crime in this neighborhood, whether it be an auto burglary, a house burglary, an armed robbery. And for those individuals, there is too much crime in Lakeview.
And so you folks want to keep it that way, and you're willing to impose a $100 per year tax on the 8,000 more or less pieces of property in this area.
That's correct. The Lakeview Civic Improvement Association was the major sponsor of the legislation creating this crime prevention district. It was passed in the legislature last year, and today is the vote by the residents of Lakeview to determine if they're going to impose the fee.
Aren't you surprised to see 51-49 at this point? I think that you folks thought it would pass much more heavily than that, didn't you not?
The figures at the moment do look a little bit closer than I had expected. However, we're only talking about 10% of the precincts. So it would depend at this point upon where those precincts were.
Okay, Charles Ciascio, thank you for being with us. We're going to throw it back to Norman and Susan at the studio, and we'll keep you posted out here as to what's going on, the mood of the lay of the land as we count the votes on the Lakeview Crime Prevention District.
All right, Alec, we'll check in with you later. Thank you.
Yeah, and this crime proposition is something that appears to be catching on. Susan and Silas, it happened in Lake Forest Estates, your neighborhood, last year, and it's being proposed in Spring Lake subdivision. It seems to be rather incongruous at a time when people are saying we feel safer about the city, yet neighborhoods who can afford it are opting to tax themselves for more protection. What's going on?
Well, I think you hit the operative term, who can't afford it are voting. This is close. I mean, this may not pass. It's 51% with 9% in, because I think there are some people in Lakeview, you're basically asking people to vote for a tax. And there was an argument that it's not fair because it's $100 per parcel and businesses pay the same as individuals. But even though, as Alex said, there have been no murders in 2 years in Lakeview, there has been a rash of armed robberies. There have been other things that scare people that gave the impetus to this. I think that if crime continues to decline in the city the way it has been, it will take some of the steam out of this movement.
Silas, is this the thing, though, that might keep some people from going across the lake?
Probably. That's probably why you will see more initiatives like this. Depends on what happens and how crime is addressed. People want to feel that they have some control over crime, especially at reducing the opportunity for them to become a crime victim. And those who can afford it, they do not mind taxing themselves to maintain a level of safety in their neighborhood and to stabilize that environment, because the perception of crime may exceed the reality, but the more insecure people may feel, the more likely they are to flee. So this is an opportunity to stabilize a neighborhood, too.
And also, we have to realize the property values in Lakeview are probably some of the highest in the city, and people are voting to protect property values.
Certainly. All right. Well, we'll take a break, and we'll come back with some more numbers.
Don't go far. Stay tuned.
Three spectacular shows at UNO Lakefront Arena. Friday, May 8th, and 2 shows Saturday, May 9th at 3 and 8 p.m. Lord of the Dance. Live on stage. Hurry, get your reserved seat tickets right now at the Arena box office, Ticketmaster locations, or charged by phone. Lord of the Dance. A Beaver production for Channel 6 and Miller Lite.
World Gym on the West Bank is now just $19 a month. That's right, just $19 a month. World Gym on the West Bank. Improvements at the Hoover Dam by Dellery Enterprises. The best aluminum cover on the market. Features include a superior roof and wraparound clean-out gutter. Thousands of jobs, local and national.
I'm proud that Delport was picked for the project at the Hoover Dam.
By using your furnace before it is properly serviced by a technician, you may endanger your family.
Don't wait.
Call Keith's Air Conditioning and Heating.
Important notice to homeowners. The U.S. Department of HUD has made it possible for you to borrow up to $25,000 for home improvements. I'm Brad Levine with Save More Builders. At Save More Builders, families with low to high incomes can now make quality home improvements with no money down and small monthly payments. Finally, a HUD program for everyone. Let Save More fix up your home with no money down and a small monthly payment. Call 837-1163 or out of town, call toll free.
When you're in buckets of trouble, Roof Tech is on top of your needs, bringing 20 years of experience home to you. Fully bonded and insured, Roof Tech provides the entire Gulf South with reliable service and quality products such as Owens Corning. Roof Tech can install risk-free roofing for any size project with watertight warranties ranking among the best in the industry. You can depend on Roof Tech, your shelter from the storm. Call 366-9283 today for a free estimate.
As we continue our special election coverage now, let's look at the new numbers in the race for mayor of the city of New Orleans. The incumbent leading handily 62 to 27%.
With 3% of the precincts reporting. Paul Bauer, no longer a candidate, still on the ballot, and Paul Borrello with just 4%.
And you know, another race that has generated perhaps the most attention is the council at large. James Singleton, 37%, and Peggy Wilson, 33%.
Eddie Saper with 26%. Chuck West, another long shot candidate, and William Papa Gant down in the low digits.
And the incumbents are doing well tonight. District D, Roy Glapion leading handily at 87%.
In District B, Oliver Thomas leading as well, very handily, 88%.
And Councilman woman Ellen Hazard Distance, another incumbent, leading at 86 to 14%.
Now again, looking at that crime proposition, the proposition for more patrols in Lakeview, for a self-tax by the people in that area, tight one so far. 51% say yes to that, 49% say no.
In the race for 4th Circuit Court of Appeal, David Marcello leading at 42 to 35%.
And Philip Ciascio Jr. in this race with 23%.
In the race for traffic court judge, Robert Jones III, the mayor's candidate, 35%. Yvonne Hughes, 14%.
Several candidates in this race. Morris Reed, who ran unsuccessfully for DA 3 times, is now with just 13%.
Rosa Edwards at 11%, a traffic court prosecutor. Arthur Morrell, a lawyer, 10%. And Vernon Thomas, 5%.
Taking a look at the assessor's race in the 4th district. This was an interesting race here. A lot of mudslinging back and forth between Ronald Burke, the incumbent, and Betty Jefferson, the sister of Congressman Bill Jefferson. But Burke is far away and ahead this early in the game.
As well as Janice Deegan, the incumbent, 81%, leading her challenger to 19%, with 5% of the precincts reporting. In the recorder of mortgages race, Michael McCrossan, the incumbent, looking kind of tight right now. A close race between Michael McCrossan and Desiree Charbonnet, 53 to 47, with 23% of the precincts reporting. And as you said, Shedrick Roy is off the ballot, pulled out some time ago. In the race for Register of Conveyances, incumbent Gaspar Skiro, 73% to Marie Bookman, another mayor Morial candidate. And in the Register of Conveyances, we have David Reed with 5%. And the race for clerk of Civil District Court, the incumbent, Dale Atkins, 98% to Conrad Schimmel's 2%. So those are the latest numbers that we have just coming in now to Channel 6. And looking at another heated, disputed race tonight, that of the 4th Circuit Court of Appeal. All 3 candidates in this one have been battling it out on television and radio. You've seen their signs along the neutral ground. Tisha Powell reports on the race that's being decided tonight by voters in Orleans Parish, but also in Plaquemines and St. Bernard.
Well, the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeal tends to be somewhat of an isolated court and therefore not very much in the public's consciousness, but it is a very important court because of its impact on people's lives.
And Municipal Court Judge David Marcello wants to be part of that process. He and his opponents, Philip Ciascio Jr. and Jim McKay, are asking voters in Orleans, Plaquemines, and St. Bernard parishes for a seat on the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeal. Marcello was an attorney for 25 years and a committed community servant. He's endorsed by Mayor Morial and says he has a lot to offer this position.
What I'd like to bring to it are my qualifications as a scholar, as a practicing attorney of 26 years, and as someone who's got a real connection with our community.
Jim McKay has served as a criminal court judge for 15 years. He's endorsed by the Alliance for Good Government and says integrity and experience are most important.
I think that I'm going to bring with me to that seat all the things that I learned as a child growing up in New Orleans and all the experience that I have on the criminal bench.
Philip Ciascio Jr. would like to follow in his father's footsteps by filling his position on the bench. He's a practicing attorney who believes his training in criminal and civil law puts him above the competition.
The other two candidates, one has been exclusively involved in the criminal practice, one has been exclusively involved in the civil practice, but neither one of them have what I possess insofar as the experience is concerned.
He says he plans to fight crime and stress family values if elected.
And I want to make a difference in this community, and this is a position that I truly believe I can make a difference in.
Tisha Powell, Channel 6 News.
Now, this Fourth Circuit Court of Appeal seat has been vacant since August when Philip Ciascio Sr. retired. The winner tonight will join 11 other judges.
And we'll take a break now and continue with our special election coverage in a moment. Don't go far.
It was the best time I ever had doing it.
I've done it a lot. This was the best ever.
It was so good that we did it twice.
What are these people talking about? They've all bought a car from Mossy Oldsmobile Pontiac. Every Mossy customer receives free oil changes for 4 years, a free car detailing once a year, free shuttle service to and from the CBD, and the lowest prices available. So if you want to save money on your next car, come to Mossy Oldsmobile Pontiac.
It's a sweetheart of a deal at A1 Appliance for the whole month of February. Shop at A1 Appliance for the best deals and biggest selection. Give her an appliance from A1 and we'll give you a wonderful bouquet of flowers from Villery's Florist. At A1 Appliance, get the guaranteed lowest prices and 0% interest at 15 months. We're talking a sweetheart of a deal. Buy a new appliance and get a beautiful free bouquet for your sweetheart from Villery's. We won't tell. At A1 Appliance, we're talking big.
Toyota Corolla, now with a new design and a Consumer's Digest Automotive Best Buy recommendation. USA Today says Toyota Camry is the #1 selling car in America. And Toyota Tacoma is 4-Wheeler Magazine's 1998 Pickup Truck of the Year. Toyota, we just keep getting better every day.
This weekend, the single victory at the Superdome. Color TVs and VCR, $79. IBM 46 computer, $299. Pentium 133 computers, $499. Color notebooks, $499. Leather jackets, $29. Cordless phones, $19. Answer machines and color IDs, $15. Levi jeans, $14. CD players, $29. Car CD players, $49. Microwaves, $49. Gold jewelry, $10 a gram. Nintendo 64, PlayStation, Kenwood, Sony, Pioneer, Sirwin, Vape. Friday noon to 10, Saturday 10 to 9, Sunday noon to 6. The Superdome.
You're watching special election coverage, Decision 98 here on WDSU Channel 6. We now have the latest numbers in the mayor's race. Taking a look at them now, the incumbent 66% to 24% from Kathleen Cresson.
As our political analysts have said tonight, this seems to be an endorsement of the way the city is going. Much better quality of life perspective for a lot of people in this town from the way it was 4 years ago.
All right, we have two people covering the election from the Morial headquarters tonight, Michael Marsh and Melanie Sanders. Melanie?
Well, Norman, people are starting to slowly show up a little bit more here tonight, but as you can see, hopefully everyone is watching the numbers here on Channel 6, but they also have a screen set up, which is right behind me on the internet, where you can get the numbers and the voters and see how many people registered Democrats, registered Republicans. Bob Dabney, who is the campaign press secretary, is here to tell us a little bit more about how this is working for people to get the numbers on the internet. How is this working?
Well, Melanie, you know, one of the great things about technology is that it's gotten us to the point where the clerk of court here, Edwin Lombard, can offer the people of New Orleans this service, and it's a wonderful service whereby on his internet address, which is www.opcso.org, okay, you can go in and you can access the election results as they come in.
And they haven't been updated
They haven't been
just
updated yet, but hopefully they'll be updated. And the first thing that you'll get, and you can do it for all of the races, but obviously here we're going to concentrate on the mayor's race, but you can get all of the precincts, the names and the number of votes. And another thing that it does, if we can get to it here, is that it will give you a map. And the precincts will change color as the precinct is given to a candidate.
Okay, Bob Dabney, thanks for talking to us. Let's go over to Mike now, who is with Councilman Troy Carter. Mike.
We'll be talking to the councilman a little bit later, but first of all, let's talk about the mayor's next 4 years. What's in the cards? Well, the mayor says there probably won't be a whole lot of changes, but he does want to improve the school system. And when the mayor voted this morning, he was casting a ballot for his plan to promote leadership in the schools. He says official New Orleans, politicians and business people alike, have basically abandoned the school system. A lot of people going to private schools now. So he's going to draw up a blueprint to improve the schools, not so much to take control away from the school system, but he wants to improve it, and he says that's going to take some time too.
Can't be done in 6, 8, 10 months. It's more than picking a new superintendent. It's more than, quote, the board doing some different things. It's going to require accountability for learning. It's going to require a focus on the condition of public school buildings. It's going to require, I think, re-energizing teachers and principals and others, and a whole variety of things. But political leaders, not only the mayor, not only the city council, but every political leader is going to have to take a seat at the table and commit to do whatever he or she can do.
You hear the mayor sending out the challenge to members of the council. Councilman Troy Carter here. What can be done as far as he's looking at? You can't take the schools away from the schools per se, but what can council members and the mayor do?
I think what we have to do clearly is we've got to recognize that the school board is a constitutionally created entity of itself, and our position needs to be, instead of an overtake, needs to be one of how can we join resources. The mayor, the city council, the business community, the community as a whole. We all have a vested interest in making sure that our school system is working right, that it's overhauled, and what we have to do is to make sure that we all sit to the table together, pool our resources, pool our energies, and pool our talents to make it work.
Is the goal reachable in the next 4 years for the mayor?
I don't think we have the luxury for it not to. And it's bigger than the mayor. It's not about the mayor, it's about the city. To do it in the next 4 years, to do it in the next 12 months, we have to expend every bit of energy that we have, and time is of the essence, so we have to do it now.
All right, Councilman Troy Carter. Now back to you all in the studio.
All right, thank you, Michael.
All right, Michael.
Well, you know, voters in this city have been polled by both Susan Howell and Silas Lee about whether or not they want the mayor to take over control of the school system. What did they tell you?
Well, right now they're very lukewarm towards the idea. However, I believe that once this idea picks up some momentum, we might see more support due to the fact that they have a lot of confidence in City Hall, the mayor's office, and the council, and they probably will gain more confidence in the ability of City Hall to have some input into the management of the school system. And that was one area that did not experience any improvement in the poll, because we asked if public education has improved over the past 4 years, and the majority said gotten worse.
Yeah. Now, the mayor has proved, at least the argument is being made among the people who want him to at least not, I won't use the word take over, I'll just say to assume an aggressive role as it relates to education. The argument they make is the mayor has done his job. He's done what he promised he would do when he became elected 4 years ago. This big reform movement that took place in the school board has just... You
mean the police?
Yeah, on the police department. Yeah. This big reform movement that took place on the school board has gone nowhere. In fact, it's taken a big nosedive. The question is...
well, I think one of the things that, as Silas brought up, we've always seen white voters more negative than black voters on the schools. Black voters were more positive. But recently, we've seen a decline in black voters' evaluation of the school system. And they are the real customers, so to speak, of the public school system. And I think they would welcome the mayor's involvement. The reason I think the overall poll showed a lukewarm is that whites are dramatically against it, and blacks are, it might be a good idea. So, and also we've seen another thing that the president of the school board basically said he welcomes the mayor's involvement. Well, that I think is a signal that a legal takeover is not required, that we can have a working together where the mayor would have an incredible amount of influence and the school board would go along with that.
Something we may see in the next term.
Yeah, I think you can bank on it.
Well, he made it the hallmark of his speech in the State of the City address. And I'm quite sure he's going to make this a cornerstone for his second term. In the first administration, he talked about crime and he addressed the issue. It looks like public education will be a cornerstone here.
Okay, we'll be looking for that, and we'll take a break now.
All right, we'll be right back after these messages.
It was a highway like no other.
Nobody really wanted it. They thought it was a waste of money.
With a rich and turbulent history.
I beg your forgiveness.
And today, with a brand new name and increased traffic, this thoroughfare is trying to change its image. The New Drive, Monday at 6 on Channel 6 News. When the big story breaks, turn to experience. Turn to Louisiana's first Channel 6 News, making a difference together.
Mesha Camping is affordable and fun with a motorhome from Cajun Camping. Trade-ins and financing available. See Cajun Camping.
The strongest aluminum covers anywhere. Dellery Enterprises, residential, commercial, and industrial. We manufacture, install, and service.
By using your furnace before it is properly serviced by a technician, you may endanger your family.
Don't wait.
Call Keith's Air Conditioning and Heating.
Let Armor Roofing and Gutter install the last roof you'll ever need over your existing roof. Affordable and fire retardant. Armor Roofing and Gutter.
Tulane University Hospital and Clinic, in partnership with Tulane Medical Center, has had a commitment to providing quality health care to Louisiana and the Gulf South for more than 150 years. This tradition of health and healing, in conjunction with educating the next generation of doctors, has made Tulane known and respected throughout the world. When you choose Tulane, you choose expertise and medical innovation in every field of healthcare. It's the most educated healthcare decision you can make. For information, call our access line.
Hi, I'm Margaret Orr. As a mother, I know how tough it is to talk to kids. But imagine if your child is autistic. How would you reach them? You can call Gulf Coast Teaching Family Services. Since 1983, it's been helping children break out of the isolated world of autism. Donate your used car, boat, or RV to Gulf Coast Teaching Family Services. You get a tax deduction, but more importantly, you help a child with autism. Remember, for a child with autism, it's not just a car, it's their freedom.
And we're back once again with our live coverage of Decision 98, the election here in New Orleans.
And we're going to take a look at what Roy Glappion's doing, the councilman from District D. Got up to a shaky start, but he seems to have recovered nicely. Susan Roberts.
Good evening, Norman. Roy Glappion joins me now, and good evening to you, sir.
Good evening.
How's it been going today? What have you been doing? Tell us.
It's been tough. You know, all campaigns are tough. You know, I've been walking and talking and shaking hands and trying to get reelected.
What are your numbers showing?
Well, from what I've heard from the press, that they look very, very good, but there's many more numbers to come before we can truly make a decision on a victory.
Tell us, have you heard much from your challenger, Anna P. Johnson, during this campaign? We have not heard much from her.
No, I have not heard much, and I'd prefer not to comment on what she's done.
Tell us about the drunk driving charge and what happened that night. You have said that you felt like when everything came out of the wash that you'd be vindicated in this.
Well, I'm not going to talk about what happened that night. You know, you're innocent until proven guilty. I have not been to court, so I believe when I go to court, I'll be completely vindicated of those charges.
And the next 4 years, should you be reelected tonight? Tell us about that.
We've got a lot of exciting things to do. We must continue to work with our police department, particularly the veteran officers that I believe that need additional training to fight the crime that existed in the 1990s. We have a very exciting thing going on at UNO, the research park that's going to bring a lot of good jobs to New Orleans. The blighted housing problem is still there. We're walking in the right direction.
A lot of friends and supporters here tonight.
Yes.
Got a lot behind you.
My mom and my wife and all that. Yes.
Thank you very much, Councilman Roy Glapion. Norman and Susie, back to you.
All right. Thank you very much. Susan Roberts reporting from the Roy Glapion campaign. Looks like they're having fun out at Lakefront Airport.
Let's see if some other council-at-large candidates are getting confetti already. And well, let's take a look now at the latest numbers in this race. Just coming in at Channel 6 Decision 98 in the council-at-large race. We've got reporters at each of these different locations. James Singleton, 37%, Eddie Saper, 29%.
And this is with 7% of the precincts reporting. And there you have incumbent Peggy Wilson, 27%. William Gant Jr., 4%.
And one more page, Chuck West with 1%. Stephen Barry dropped out. We've got Scott Simmons with the Peggy Wilson folks now, so let's go check in and see what's happening there at her campaign headquarters. Scott.
Well, as in most campaigns, Susie, when you get to election night, what you find are a lot of people huddling around the TV monitors, gauging the different numbers, knowing that not knowing which areas they come from. They tend not to get too overexcited when they see a fluctuation in the numbers in that regard. You know, what has certainly been a challenge for the Wilson campaign is dealing with a frontal assault from Mayor Mark Morial. It is perhaps no coincidence that the headquarters here is located directly across the street from Mayor Mark Morial's home. Peggy Wilson knew coming into this election that she would definitely have her work cut out for her.
I truly appreciate
Peggy Wilson has long been established as a lone voice in matters of city government, often pitted against the will of the Morial administration and the rest of the council.
I am willing to speak out when I see things that are going on that are not right.
That lone voice in the wilderness position is certainly not a position she regrets.
The thing that many of the people that I represent understand is that they need an independent voice on the city council. They need someone that they can get in touch with when nobody else will listen.
Like other candidates, Wilson has scored major endorsements and tried to explain to voters the things that are top agenda for her. She lists crime and backing the police department at the top of her list. Also building a new juvenile court facility to deal with the growing problems of youth crime. Peggy Wilson says she's looking to move on to another 4 years of doing things